Hello, everyone. Let's finish checking the Myrmidons reading that we've been doing all week, and then on Friday we'll have one more video. But yeah, so let's get into it. This is just where the story actually gets kind of interesting. And this first sentence is very straightforward. There's like nothing weird going on here, except maybe this new vocabulary word, deleo, delayre, which means to destroy. The fourth principal part of that looks like delete, so that might help. But yep, that's just Juno in her nominative form. So the direct object is meum populum totem, so entire or whole people. Okay, it'd probably be tempting to translate as population here, but that wouldn't quite be accurate. Then we have this one. Let's see here. So we do have a relative clause, a kind of compound relative clause in the second half. And the first thing, and really only issue you would maybe have as far as the words go, is iua, which is from iuo, iuare, means to help or aid. And that is it in its singular imperative form. Um, there should have been a macron there technically, but it would look this way either way. And this could only be imperative. So it's like, help me, your son. And then we have quim. And so we're just going to translate quim as whom you like and ought not to neglect. Remember debeo, deberi, it's like should or ought to, and it takes a complementary infinitive a lot of the time. So, quim is a relative pronoun, and what is its antecedent? Anyone? Okay, hopefully someone said filium tuum. Um, so yeah, filium tuum is actually the direct object. It's in apposition to me. It's like verb me, and then that me is expanded upon by quim and filium tuum. Um, and as a relative pronoun, it's also a direct object. So we have some direct object antecedent relative pronoun kind of synchronization there. Okay, oh, this guy's kind of cool. So this one is not too difficult, but there is like one trick to it that you might have stumbled on. First off, we have just the god heard him, and then sine mora without delay. We've seen that forever. Began coipit. This GNU verb began coipit to change, skipping ahead to the complementary infinitive at the end of the sentence. Um, I'm sorry, not their forms. Ants into men. Ants into men. This is not from forma formi. So the reason that it's into men, because hominis is accusative. So both formicos and hominis are accusative, but formicos is the actual direct object, which I'm pretty consistently making red, and hominis is the accusative object of in. Okay, and then we have this one, this last little bit. So that would be something like, and so Jupiter. And then we run into a what kind of class? A relative clause, right? Cui, okay? And we should know exactly what to do with that. So Jupiter, to whom nothing is too difficult. Nothing is too difficult. Nimis difficula. The only thing might run into there is nimis, an adverb we don't see a ton. And then later we have this verb facio facere. I'm looking at the bottom of the screen of the vocab. I'm glossing. I'm trying to think of the words that you guys might have issues with. Um, so we made the men and women from a few animals, parvis, animalibus. Those are both ablative, sandwiching X. They're just the object of X. So from out of or from a few animals. Good. And what is this last sentence? Oh, this one's like crazy straightforward. The middle part is a relative clause, um, but it's a pretty easy one. So just that first part is going to be something like Phileus, the son of Aeacus, was Peleus, and then starting after Peleus, the relative clause, whose son was that Achilles. And every once in a while, we were told that Illa could mean like that famous, as in it's like a good thing. It's not like Ista, which is like a bad that. But yeah, so that famous Achilles would actually work pretty well here. Dux Myrmidonum, the leader of the Myrmidons. Okay, so that is the story about them. We actually have a few stories that are kind of focusing on Achilles or Achilles adjacent events, including the start of the Trojan War coming up. So that'll be fun. Let's just do, since I have plenty of time, I did that really quickly. Let's do two more couplets from the Catullus poem, and we'll finish that tomorrow, and maybe do like a simulated word ball kind of thing for the final video. But um, let's go ahead and do these. So we saw the first line, which was he was kind of asking, kind of rhetorically, I guess, just to kind of get into his poem, to whom Cooey, right? It was that same Cooey again that we just saw. Uh, do I dedicate this book just now finished? He was saying, just now polished off. And now we see Corneli, and you probably remember that there was a person in the poem that he was kind of dedicating his poetry to. So he says Cornelius, and that is the vocative. I'm just glossing that because you wouldn't necessarily know that. It's not a standard vocative, but it seems like second declension vocative can end in this singular I. So to you, for you, and sole boss means like we're accustomed to. So if you actually want to work through this on your own, you should pause it right now because I'm probably gonna jump ahead to what we would get from this. But soleo soleri is, it's almost like making something the imperfect case or tense, but it takes a complementary infinitive, and that infinitive is going to be on the next line. And I see putare there, which at the very bottom leads into an indirect statement like, I think that so and so, blah, 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 blah. That would be an indirect statement. I don't think we've seen those yet, but putare is kind of synonymous with cogitare. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. So to you, Cornelius, for you, we're accustomed to consider, that's the putare in the second line towards the end, uh, that my trifles, and that's kind of tricky in that it's meos and nugos, the first word and the last word of this line are actually going together. They're both accusative. And that's just the kind of word order that is pretty standard for Roman poetry. Consider my trifles to be something. Aliquid is this word something. It's glossed down there. Okay. And again, this is probably familiar. It's probably ringing a bell for when we went over it last year. And this last one, now you, or now then, and cum here is a conjunction meaning like when an ausis s. That's actually from audeo, audere there, and it's gonna kind of function like an adjective here. So if you remember, that is not audeo, audere, not to hear, but instead to truth or dare. So you, having dared, ausis s, that's called a perfect participle. You guys are gonna get that in about 2 chapters. To be s. Um, One of the Italians, etalorum, is a genitive. Uh, and then we jump to that verb, just like how we jump to a verb halfway through the second line. We're going to do that again. And they're both infinitives, putare and explicare. So one of the Italians, to explain or unfold, omne iwum. Iwum is kind of like this new word you guys are getting, itos. So all of time in Tribus Cartis in 3 parts. And this goes back to, and you can pause it there if you want to write that down. But it goes back to what we were talking about. This Cornelius Nepos is a biographer friend, a historian, basically, who we hear about mentioned here in Catullus' poetry, but we lost most of his work, unfortunately. But we have him in like fragments and references, as in here. All right, that'll be it for today. Tomorrow we might do some vocabulary review or something like that, and then you guys will be good to go for spring break. So thanks.